Velkommen til Bøje Larsens blog.
This is a video about my uncle KNUD VANDMOSE LARSEN, 1912 to 1983, who lived in the Danish town of Nørresundby. He was an artistic multi-talent. KNUD VANDMOSE LARSEN was my uncle, and I will therefore in this video mainly call him Uncle KNUD or Nud. When Uncle KNUD died, the Aalborg Stiftstidende in Aalborg, a town very close to Nørresundby, wrote this obituary. The author KNUD VANDMOSE LARSEN, Nørresundby, has died aged 71. KNUD VANDMOSE was trained as an engraver in his youth, and he later got an engraver's business in Aalborg. However, for a number of years, he went to sea, and he also studied for a master's degree in literature at the University of Copenhagen, but abandoned the study. His artistic abilities showed in the book Skibet I Flasken, English The Ship in the Bottle, which was published in the late 1940s, and later he broke through as a writer with the novel Magnus. He wrote several other books at the same time, as he looked after his business in Aalborg. Uncle KNUD actually published his first work in 1938 in the same newspaper, Aalborg Stiftstidende. He was then 26 years old. While he studied at Copenhagen University, as mentioned in the obituary, in the years around 1939, he lived in my parents' flat in Copenhagen, where I was born around 5 years later. My father's drawing, which I show here, shows my parents' flat in Copenhagen. To the right is the couch converted into a bed at night, where Uncle KNUD slept while he studied at the university, which, by the way, was extraordinary at the time with people of his background. He was the only one among his many siblings who went to university. There was a close bond between my father, Gottfred Vanmose Larsen, who was born in 1902, and a 10-year younger brother, Nud. The reason, I think, was that they both had inherited an artistic talent. I have seen a watercolor painting made by my father and then by my uncle of the same motive around Uncle KNUD's summer hut in Valdmose, a wild and beautiful area near Nørresundby. These two brothers were very similar. Note that it is not a spelling error of mine when my uncle's last name is given as Vanmose with a single V and my father's name is given with a W. They had 11 brothers and sisters. In the old days, there was no full order in the offices, which made the birth certificates. In 1952, as mentioned in the obituary, Uncle KNUD got the Wangel Publishers Prize for the novel Magnus. That can be seen as his breakthrough as an author in Denmark. At that time, he had already published many novels and books of poetry. 2 of his late books were about Spain. The first one was De Likkelige Over. En beretning om en reis til Kanarieøerne. 1960, in English The Happy Islands. An account of a journey to the Canary Islands. I have a bound book version of this book with a long dedication to my father. The second Spain-related book had the title Afdruk af en Dødsmask. Fire Beretninger I Ram in English, Imprint of a Death Mask. For Stories in a Frame. The book was published in 1979. The subject was the Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca, who was killed around 1930 by Franco-fascists. It got a mixed review in Berlingske Tidende, a leading newspaper in Copenhagen. The reviewer was the well-regarded critic, Jens Kastrup. And KNUD was an engraver. Here are 2 of his works. An engraved steel plate on the occasion of my father's 60 years birthday. Here KNUD teases my father with his big interest in medicine, orthodox and unorthodox. My father was somewhat of a hypochondriac. In the middle of the steel plate is, as you might be able to see, is depicted my father's interest in filming and camping. Another example of Uncle KNUD's engraving skills is an engraved glass, one of 2, which KNUD and Marie offered as a gift at my marriage in 1969. And to top it off, Uncle KNUD was also a first-class painter. Here are 2 of his paintings. Thank you for watching this video about my uncle, the artistic multi-talent, KNUD VANDMOSE LARSEN.